Not only Nottingham Forest, but Everton as well have been inquiring and made Jacob Ramsey a #1 target for their respective summer transfer windows. This could spell the end of JJ in an Aston Villa shirt. The deal would have to be quote-unquote tremendous to allow Aston Villa to accept any offer, because Jacob Ramsey is a homegrown talent, which means that his wages don't count towards ESR and all that kind of good stuff. So for the books, it's very, very good to keep him. But welcome back to Rogers Reports, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rogers. I'm your host with the most on this channel, and we are way on the way to 4,000 subscribers. If you are enjoying the content, leave a like, subscribe down below, the notifications on so you don't miss a thing. And let me know, what do you think about these new links linking Jacob Ramsey away from Aston Villa? But what we're going to be doing today is going through his stats over the past few seasons, looking at where he fits into the team, the amount of minutes that he's playing, comparing him against Europe's top 5 leagues, looking at the possible deals that could be on the table, two teams that might be around us in the table next year. Will that influence our ability or want or desire to sell Jacob Ramsey? And then thinking about who we could get in to replace him. So all that good stuff still to go. Let's get into it and look at JJ over the past 2 seasons. First of all, when I think of Jacob Ramsey, we look at his seasons here on the right hand side. I think everyone's mind goes to this season for Aston Villa, where he got 6 goals and 7 assists in the Premier League. It was Unai Emery's first season in charge of Villa. It's probably the season that made him fall in love with Jacob Ramsey. He's a very, very big admirer of Jacob Ramsey, his ability, his talent, and what he can bring to the team on that left-hand side of midfield. Only 24 years of age, a fresh 24 as well, so he's still a young player. Market value currently around 40 million, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But you can see over the past couple of seasons, obviously, last season struggled massively with injuries, only managing 16 games in the Premier League. This season, back to playing 45 games. It's a lot of football over the course of one season, but the stats don't really match up to what we'd expect from a player developing in their game. But he definitely has that talent, he definitely has that potential. This season in the Premier League, you can see it wasn't ideal for JJ. Just the 1 goal, 4 shots on target. Did manage to get 3 assists off of an expected assists of only 2.19. Still yet to get a full senior cap for the England men's team. A pass completion of 86.6% puts him up there in terms of the percentiles, but the long ball percentage and the cross accuracy, not very good at all. His dribble success, though, the top 5% in the Premier League for his position. Completed 25 of them over the course of the season. That's 65.8% dribble success ratio. Very, very good. We know on the ball, he uses his body well. He's a very powerful dribbler and rarely does get dispossessed, as is shown by that statistic. Won a penalty this season. Defensively, mucked in as much as he could, winning 55.9% of his duels. But it's just, honestly, it doesn't hold a candle to this season for Villa, where he did get those 6 goals. He did get those 7 assists. All of his pass accuracy generally around the same, but the long ball accuracy and cross accuracy way, way higher. Created 42 chances for his teammates. One of the most successful dribbles in the league in that position, and defensively as well. Numbers and output a lot higher. This season, I feel like he just really stepped off the gas, and I'm not really sure why. In the Champions League this year, a little bit better. Did get a goal, did get the 2 assists. That pass accuracy still fantastic. Created 10 chances for his teammates in 10 games. The dribble success still ridiculously high, in the top 10th percentile in that competition as well. And defensively, the percentages and the numbers perhaps more where we'd expect to see Jacob Ramsey. But how did he compare to Europe's top 5 leagues? Because he is a 24-year-old now, he should be there or thereabouts. We still can't be looking at potential at that age. You need to be realising it, you need to be actualising it. How's he doing? Let's have a look. And yeah, it's all right, but there is some bad viewing in there as well. So these are his per 90 stats versus his positional peers, so players within his position, which is attacking midfielders and wingers. in Europe's top 5 leagues, including the Champions League. This does take into account those minutes and stats from the Champions League for JJ this season. As you can see, non-penalty goals and shots total, bottom 10th percentile, just really wasn't that vicious, effective or lethal in front of goal this season. His assists do put him in the top 35th percentile, still not particularly high. And when you take in his non-penalty expected goals plus his expected assists and goals, bottom 18. It's really not good. And I don't know what happened to JJ this season, to be honest with you. Shot creating actions for his teammates. So an action that he has done, whether it's a dribble, a tackle, a pass, a shot, that has led to a shot for a teammate, bottom 20th percentile. For a player in his position where you'd expect him to be the life and soul and creativity of a team, or at least contributing to it heavily, it's a worrying statistic to see. The pass completion, however, does put him in the top 2nd percentile. Progressive passes and progressive carries, at least in the top half. But the rest of his stats, really not there at all for JJ. It seems like a complete regression. Is it because he's still finding his feet on the way back from injury? Well, he's had nearly 2 seasons now, or at least a season and a half back from injury, and I understand that the injury that he had was a recurring one that can come back, one that can niggle at him for the rest of his career, which is again is a worry. But he needs to do better than this season, because the stats for me are worrying, to say the least. Now, in terms of the deal itself and what has been discussed, it came out today and it was a bit of like a bombshell little bit of news. Obviously, there's this whole Morgan Gibbs-White saga in with Nottingham Forest and Spurs. Ultimately, we know that the big sis bias in England does exist. I imagine that deal will get put over the line and Spurs will land their man. And if that does happen, Nottingham Forest are going to be looking at Jacob Ramsey as their number 1 priority, numero uno, to come in and fill that void. They are already in talks for another winger, I believe, from one of the Brazilian clubs that played in the Club World Cup to replace Elanga, which obviously they're going to have to, because Elanga played absolutely fantastically for them last season. But JJ is their man, and knowing this, Everton have also apparently entered the fray and entered discussions for Jacob Ramsey and value him very highly. And I do believe with some of the signings that Everton are linked with David Moyes in charge, they could be a team in and around us. I expect Nottingham Forest to be another one of those teams in and around us. So selling Jacob Ramsey to either of those teams, I think, would massively hurt Villa's chances of getting back into Europe next season. Now, that's not to say that I think he is a world breaker. I don't think he's going to set the world alight next season, to be honest with you, based off of last season's stats, as we have already gone through. But to strengthen a direct competition, a direct opposition like that, the deal's going to have to be pretty good, right? And like I've already said, there's some funny, hoodwinked Houdini magic that goes on behind the scenes of all the finances that means that actually Jacob Ramsey being at the club, his wages, I don't know whether his wages get put towards or don't, because he's homegrown talent. We can register him as homegrown, club trained, all that kind of stuff. God, why is football so confusing nowadays? Just put a ball on the floor, get 22 blokes out there and have a kick about, you know what I mean? But we do have to think about this business side of things when it comes to transfers this season. We've seen it a lot already with Villa, with the Douglas Luiz deal, with Eze Barrenechea being sold again. And there'll be a short up on the channel about that. That there's more to football than just simply the players nowadays. And with all of that in mind, I truly believe that the offer would have to be between the 40 to 50 million pound mark. I think actually borderline more towards the 50. We've seen Elanga go for 55. Gibbs White is going to be going for close to 60. All of these players going for these ridiculous fees. If Villa can't pluck a good fee for Jacob Ramsey, considering what he can do, what he might be able to do, the potential that he still has, the potential that he has actualised in that season a couple of seasons ago before the injuries, I'll be very surprised if we let him go for cheap, considering everything in the landscape of PSR and ESR and FSR and LSR. I don't even know. There's so many nowadays. You know what I mean? You could literally just pluck an acronym or a letter out the sky, and it probably does make a financial thing that we're bound by. So the deal has to be good. But let's say the deal is good. The deal's fantastic. Boom, 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 boom. It all goes through the motions. He goes to Everton or Nottingham Forest for a fee in the region of 45 to 55 million pounds. Where does that leave Villa, and what are some replacements that we could look at? Well, let's flip over to the whiteboard and have a look. So this is just a mock lineup that I've had with JJ in that left wing position. Now, obviously, for the majority of last season, it was actually that man that I've put in the 10 in this mock lineup, McGinn-Esther, who was playing that left wing position. When it wasn't McGinn-Esther, it would be Marcus Rashford when he was still at the club. So JJ really wasn't our first choice, but let's just say that he will be next season, and maybe that's the way that we might have lined up, right? So we're going to have to replace him. So let's say JJ gets sold. Now, a couple of obvious replacements, right? We just do that. And we put McGinn out on the left, and boom, it's done. We don't have to sign an extra player. For me personally, I wouldn't mind maybe seeing that out on the left-hand side. Put Morgan Rogers out there. I think he absolutely feasted from the left-hand side. But ultimately, if we get rid of McGinn-Esther as well, I think actually I'd probably fancy seeing Rogers in the middle, possibly getting a new right winger in. Maybe the Jacob Ramsey deal would free up the fees for that. We don't know. Maybe that's what we're thinking. Maybe someone else goes out on the left. Maybe even, let's just, so that we don't have question marks, let's just say that Marlon starts out on the right a majority of next season. So who comes in to replace JJ if we're assuming, big assumption, that McGinn won't just step into that role? If we're assuming, again, big assumption, that Rogers won't just step into that role. And I've come up with a couple of little possible solutions, a couple of players that we have been linked with. So first of all, I hope that's how you spell it, Semenyo from Bournemouth, linked with a move to Aston Villa earlier on in the transfer window. Very, very good last season for Bournemouth. Obviously, Bournemouth finishing outside of any European competition. Perhaps he wants that next season, so perhaps a deal could be struck with Bournemouth. They do drive a relatively hard bargain when they do sell their players to bring him into the club. Just one option. Another option, one that we have been linked with, one that I think would beast and feast in the Premier League, is I think I've spelled it wrong. I think it's Paxiao. Igor Paxiao. Done a video on the channel already on him. Brazilian, plays in the Eredivisie, got 16 goals and 10 assists in the Eredivisie last season. Completely different player to Jacob Ramsey. He's very, very small, but he's quick, he's rapid, he's skillful. He can beat a man and he has an eye for an absolute wonder goal. Another option that we have been linked with a lot is Harvey Barnes from Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle recently signing Anthony Elanga. They do still have Anthony Gordon. So perhaps that winger slot might be one that they are going to be looking to get rid of. Perhaps Harvey Barnes will be available on that cut price fee. I've been talking for like 18 minutes. Please give me a break. Possibly one that Aston Villa might look at. Maybe a bit of a left field option would be Amari Hutchinson. Been relegated with Ipswich. Thought he played very, very well for Ipswich last season as alongside Delap, one of their standout players. And then there's the big one, the elephant in the room. Do you bring Judas back to the Last Supper table? Now look, ultimately, I don't know what's going to happen, but these links don't just come out of nowhere if there isn't some validity to them. And the Nottingham Forest one especially seems to be coming from top-tier, reputable journalists within the Premier League landscape, within the Nottingham Forest landscape, and within the Aston Villa landscape. And it might be a battle to hold on to Jacob Ramsey, but is this just all part of the master plan? And will we get in a cracking replacement? Let me know your comments down below, and I'll see you guys soon.